Yay, good morning. Hi, Beth Cat. Hooray. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody? What's everybody drinking this morning? I have
Coffee. I'm drinking coffee because murder is wrong.
Oh, love that. I saw that shirt before. Oh my gosh. I think I probably sent it to a dozen people. I love that.
I have three coffee shirts that I sometimes in the summer. They're all t-shirts. I can't find a long sleeve tee, so I tend to wear them in the summertime. My for Sacred
Yeah.
Sounds shirts.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But you know what? You would think they would make long sleevers because, especially in this part of the country, like people get very bitter in the winter. So you'd think they'd have the coffee shirts would be a very popular time to do that. That's so funny.
Beth Cat needs my shirt. I have
Yes,
to get you one, Beth.
she's like, I really need that shirt.
This morning.
Oh my gosh. So I have been like mixing because murder is wrong. I've been mixing a lot of decaf in my coffee lately because I've been grinding my own beans and doing
Getting a
my
little
own
too hyped
coffee.
up.
I used to be a Starbucks addict in the morning and just go. That was, what got my feet on the floor. But lately I've been making my own coffee and found a really good flavor. But I make really strong coffee. I love strong coffee. So it was like 300 shots of espresso. I'd get to work and be like, you know? So I'm like, you know what? Hi, Paisley. I'm gonna, we need to take this back a notch. So I started mixing in half decaf beans, which is better for me because I don't act like a lunatic, which, you know. Lucy girl is here this morning. Who's behind you? Is that Ro?
Girl.
Oh, who's,
That is Skewy, I think.
oh,
Is
Skewy's
that
back
Skewy?
there.
Little Johnny Fortescue.
Awesome.
Roro and Bella were running around somewhere on the floor. They ran away. Lucy thinks when we're going live, she always gets treats, and I haven't given her a treat, so she's
Oh
hanging
boy.
around a little bit. Like, is she going to give me one? Yeah, she's about to give up.
Hi, Jam. Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah, Rosie was, yeah, she got some treats upstairs. So I was hoping to avoid the Ona situation where you have to
The
keep doing treats, treats, treats. Otherwise, there's a lot of ballyhooing and
the
carrying on.
tail the tail flicking is. I'm annoyed you're not giving me
That's,
a treat.
yes, 100%. Yep, that's exactly what that is.
And
I
she's
got,
annoyed. It's been so hot. I usually walk Lucy on a leash and harness outside. It's been so hot. I have not had her out there.
nice.
Supposed to cool
Okay.
off a little this week, so
Yes,
maybe
she
next
got a
week.
pretty heavy coat for outside. That's a lot loose. That's a lot. Oh my
Hey,
goodness. What happened on what'd you do for the 4th, Jen?
I went live with Lori from the Way of Positive
Oh
Change.
yay!
Johnny and I went live with her in the afternoon. We try to go live on holidays
Mhm.
when people need either a break from family or they're alone on holidays. We
Yeah,
like to go live for people. So
nice.
usually Christmas Day, Thanksgiving night, those kind of
Yep,
things. We try to
that I
go
remember. Yeah, I'm always around for
live.
those. I love 4th of July that you did that too. That's awesome. Yeah, she said, "I need treats, please." Yeah, she is. She gonna just camp out in front of the in front of the mic until you cough up some treats.
Yeah, I'm cat sitting for my guitar teacher's cats. He's out of town for the 4th, and he gave me a key to the house. Well, luckily, I also have the code for the garage because the key didn't work for the first
Oh
time.
my
I'm like,
gosh.
this is the wrong key. And he said, oh my God, I gave you the key to the music studio where I take my lessons.
Is the
Uh,
cat in there?
I'm like, it's a good thing I have the code to the garage because I had to go in through the back.
Oh boy. Oh my
And it's a
god.
good thing they didn't lock the inside door inside the garage so I
That would
could
have
get
been,
in.
oh my goodness. I love that you
Yeah,
take that you guys that you take care of them and that you're close with them. That's so
they,
fun.
they would be okay because they leave enough food and water bowls out that they would have been okay for a weekend. They just like the knowing somebody's there scooping the litter boxes and
Yep.
checking on them.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So
Paisley needs a treat.
yeah,
Paisley's in Lucy's court.
yeah,
Puppy eyes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
Rosie too. She's just yeah, she just needs treats. Ro, what are you doing, babe? Come here. You want to come say hi? Yeah, it's time. You know you like to be on the camera. Come on up. All right.
Hi,
Yeah,
Rosie.
yeah. You gonna say hi?
Hi, sweetie. The puppy eyes.
Yeah, she's giving the puppy eye. She doesn't realize I don't have any treats down here.
I like her little ears when they perk up.
Yeah. All right. You want to go down or you want to stay up? Look at her looking.
Yeah, she's
She
looking
thinks
now.
yeah,
It's like,
she's
I'm a
looking.
star, Mom. I'm a star.
Yeah. She is. Oh, see, I put her down now. She wants back up, but she also keeps looking out the window. The windows are behind us, and so she's on squirrel watch as well. So things might get a little crazy.
Yeah, cats keep getting in my window. I got a couple of flies in the house, so
Oh,
they get around the windows watching for the flies.
those are good fun. That's some good fun right there.
Oh
Those
God, where are
flies.
these flies coming from?
Yeah, no, I've been under spider attack lately. Every morning I go out, the whole top porch is covered in webs. Then they're like coming in, they're just in. I keep finding them bathroom and inside the sliding doors and everywhere.
Yeah,
They are very busy right now. So Rosie will eat the spider. She'll just be like, "What's that?" And she just sticks it right in her mouth. And I'm like, "Ooh." But
like the
it's
poisonous one.
no, I don't. They're usually little guys. I don't think. I don't know. Well, she's still okay. So I don't think she ate a poisonous one yet. But yeah, it's been crazy with the spiders. I don't know what the deal is. I should look up spiritual significance of the spiders. I don't really know yeah, I know, Beth. I know. Nobody likes spiders. I don't mind them. I don't kill them. I just let them be. But I do clear the webs every morning because they start taking over.
This house, yeah, my house was built in 1862. It's quite old,
Oh gosh.
and heat rises, so upstairs is always hotter than downstairs because the return vent for the AC is downstairs. They should have put it upstairs to pull the heat out of the second floor.
Right.
So sometimes, even with the AC running, I'll crack a window to let heat out of the upstairs.
Yes.
Not that I'm trying to let cooler air in. No, I'm trying to let the heat have a place to escape.
Go.
And it tends to be my bathroom window that I crack because I can crack it open and it's up high so the cats can't get to it. But every time I do that, I'll get a little bug, like a little stink bug or a ladybug or
Yeah.
something comes in around the screen of it. I'm like, dang it.
Yep. Yep. They just do. Yeah, I get the little what are they, silverfish or whatever. I've been
Yeah.
seeing a lot of those lately too. I don't know. I just have a lot more doors and windows in this place than my last place, so I'm just trying to be at peace with it. Okay, everyone, welcome. Let me usher you out. No harm, no foul. But they're just like, hey, what's up? We like to live in here too.
Got moisture in the bathroom. Let me come in for the water.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely the silverfish. I think that's their jam because I see more of them in the bathroom. The
But
spiders are
actually,
eating the ants. Oh, that's pretty cool. See, they all take care of each other.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Hi,
I did a
Barbara.
lot of weeding this weekend. I took the weekend off, which I don't usually, I usually work on Saturdays. I usually
Right.
am doing readings, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the whole weekend off since July 4th on a Friday. And I had been neglecting my gardens
Oh,
so
yeah.
much. I only got the front garden done and one small garden in the back done. I was pulling out so many weeds.
Oh
It's
my
like, wow.
god.
And in that heat, like I do a little bit and I'd sit down and
You
rest it.
have? Yeah. It's been
Great.
brutal out there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I've planted so many because this is my first year in my new place. So I planted like a crazy person
Yeah,
because I love flowers and I was just so excited. But boy, I water at least twice a day. They are struggling. Oh my goodness.
I plant
It's this heat has been brutal.
I
Yeah.
planted a lot of perennials and bulbs the first year I was in this house, and
Yeah.
uh, well, actually more the second year, because the first year I watched to see what came up. Like,
Right.
yeah, the only
Yes.
place I had to plant things were in my labyrinth in the back, and I put bulbs
Nice.
in so they'd come
How
up
is
in the.
the labyrinth? We need a Jen labyrinth video.
It's
I love
way
it.
overgrown. I gotta
Oh,
that
gotcha.
that I did not get to weeding. It's like,
That's
oh
a
no,
lot. That labyrinth is big. It's so
it's
cool.
24-foot diameter. It looks
Wow.
bigger than it is. It's actually not that big.
Wow. It's beautiful. I love that. Always cheers me up, the labyrinth. It's so
It's like
cool, but
I
I
turn
wouldn't
my
want to have to
phone,
weed it.
to landscape, and it makes it look bigger than it actually is.
Yeah. Oh, I love that labyrinth. No.
It's
Yeah,
so cool.
when the last people that probably got my place, the couple places ago actually, um, I'm a bit of a independent spirit. I move a lot. But I had all kinds of like lily bulbs and roses and daisies and all these things that if they just sat for a season and watched, they'd see some really cool stuff come up. So, but yeah, I love doing that and then kind of leaving it to the next person to decide what they'll. But it's like, ooh, look at that! Ooh, look at that!
The entrance to the labyrinth, because there's a wood gate on it. It tends to grow, like the daisies and everything start growing right there at the entrance because it's a little bit shaded,
Right.
for most of the day. And if I open the gate and it's all overgrown and stuff, Lucy will look like, how am I supposed to get in there?
Right,
Have
right.
to
Oh
go
my
in and clean out the entrance all the time.
It's so crazy. I was over at my sister-in-law's the other night, and she is not a gardener, and my brother has been working like 24/7, and so there was just stuff growing like 6 feet high, and so we're chatting and drinking, and then I jump down every few minutes and pull some more weeds because I love to do all the planting and the care, and she's like, "All right, come over tomorrow and get the rest of these." It's
I
funny.
just realized why Lucy's probably hanging around because we're talking about independent spirit today.
Yes.
Lucy is my most independent cat I have
I
probably
love
ever
it.
had in my lifetime. And
Like,
it's funny because I always tell the vet, like, she grumbles if she's not getting her way, if you're not going the direction she wants or not letting her do what she wants. She has this, she'll let you know, like, that's not what I want to do.
oh, Lucy, I love you.
Versus the other three, they tend to puddle together and
Right?
kind of like like they're more colony driven.
Right.
Lucy's very independent.
I love that.
That's her
So,
nickname, Miss Grumblepuss.
Miss Grumblepuss. Oh,
Do you got
Lucy.
anything you got to grumble about to be independent?
Lucy. Lucy,
Her throat chakra is clear.
yes.
She expresses herself well.
She doesn't need a clearing constantly. She's got it. Oh, Luce, we need you as the symbol of the day. So we are talking about independent spirit this morning. Which is a whole different thing in the current times. I mean, we are going through it in a lot of ways, and I think just listening to that inner voice, regardless of external, needing external validation. So you know. We focus so much on what other people think, what is expected, and I think, one of the most important things about the time we're living in right now is how do we stay in tune and aligned with our inner voice? how do we, what does it mean to do that? What are the parts to staying aligned and staying independent, as opposed to, you know, being sucked into the mix, into the fray, I guess. So,
And it,
um,
you know,
yeah.
whether you're in a corporate environment or
Mm,
um, even a smaller working environment, there's always, some people that get along and some don't, and where you fit in with that, and family. There's
yes.
all those dynamics in family, and it's hard sometimes to express your independence.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you think about, and I think specifically I'm speaking to Western culture because I live in the Western culture, and particularly in the United States, like there's 365 million of us. So the instinct is to try to find somebody to get along with, or to be in a tribe somewhere, because otherwise we're lost completely in the fray. There's just so many people and so many voices, and it's easy to kind of lose, wait, what's mine, because you just want to fit into something and be part of something. So that's, I think, one of the bigger challenges of you know listening to your voice these days, and staying in tune with inside instead of outside, external, external, external. I think, like you said, work culture is a really difficult, thing to like stay. And plus work is so busy, and the expectation, and this thing of following the rules, following the high, being in the part of that culture, where there's just expectation to like just do and climb the ladder, and all of that is external.
And that noise of, oh well, if I'm louder and intimidating and stifling your voice, people will respect me more, whatever. So it's hard when you have those, um you know little bit of narcissistic tendency, or just that, it's a part of the patriarchal society, where whether
Yes.
you're male or female, you can have
Right.
that, like, I'm gonna put my energy over everybody else and shut everybody else down. And
Right.
that makes people afraid to speak up sometimes, right?
It
When you
does.
feel shut down, it's like, no, let me clear my throat, find my voice here.
Right. And it,
Like,
it
excuse
becomes,
me, let me
yeah, there's,
interrupt.
right, the need to compete and to be acknowledged and to be, is all external. And so it fear
You
makes
just
puts us in a state of fear from listening to your voice and trusting yourself.
you just said a lot there with compete. We have such a sports nut
Yeah.
crazy country
Yes.
here. So many different sports people are into, and competition, and it carries over into workplaces and family, and other people competing for your attention. A lot of times, it is
Yes.
competing is a big one.
Yeah, yeah. And just, I think, they're constantly comparing yourself to others, whether you're competing or not. In a sense, you are that constant comparing. The internet brings a lot of that to us. If you have a more nuanced voice, you could be just kind of really kicked out. I mean, we're kind of nuanced here. You don't get a bazillion views, and then you don't matter if you are, just speaking about something that's a little different, or something that's, a little more nuanced or quieter, or, just basic everyday life. It's just not acceptable in a lot of ways.
One reason I love older people a lot is they we learn through our experiences. I've learned. I feel like I've grown. I've changed how I communicate, and we we take that wisdom and we learn we don't have to yell, our
Right.
opinion to be heard. And sometimes the quieter voices have the most wisdom because they're taking time to reflect, and expressing yourself. You may have a different opinion from nine other people in the room. That's okay. You're the independent thinker a lot of times too.
Right. And the fact that we need to value that, but we don't always, is one of the struggles. But it took me so many years, like you, it takes a long time to feel comfortable in that. It takes a long time to, oh my gosh, what if somebody doesn't like it? Or, oh my goodness, and to quietly, in such a scream culture, like we live in a scream culture, the loudest screamer is the one that gets the most whatever attention, views, support. If you just scream louder than everybody else these days, a lot of time you make a lot of ground. And so to stay within yourself and stay uh, grounded and in balance, and just know that, no, my voice is right for me. That's a huge struggle these days, and it's a great thing to be doing right now, to do, like, my work lately has been so on just continuing to cultivate that voice and honor it, even at work, even at, out in the community with my family, like, just continuing to listen to my own voice, but it's a challenge.
I think it's important, like, and when people are loud or whatever, sometimes the calmer we stay, it can diffuse a situation, but it also teaches the workforce that, hey, I'm creating a safe space where we can all communicate and
Right.
share. I used to always say, with my team, one person cannot have all the ideas. I cannot have all the ideas. So I expect you to speak up and express yourself if you have an idea, and we'll talk about it. We'll figure out, okay, is that going to work for us or not? We'll
Yeah.
check it up and see, is that going to work, or do we need to keep looking for another way to do something?
Right. And I think just that listening to each other, accepting, honoring, even if it doesn't work out, it's certainly great that you said it. But we kind of, push like you said, push those people down, push things away, because we want to be the big hero, or we want to be the big, the guy that knows everything. So, we've developed this culture where that is just not as accepted as would be beneficial to us. Um, it's
Like, I can remember times at work where people would say, well, you're right, that's true, but it's
but
never going to happen.
right,
I would hear that a lot. Like, it's never going to happen. Like,
yeah,
in the reality of this environment, it's like, well, it could, if
right,
somebody, dares to take the first step for change,
exactly.
it
Yep,
can happen.
yep.
But I hear that a lot. Like when I'm doing personal readings, I hear from people a lot too as they get older and they retire and becoming, sometimes a little more sedate, in their life. They're not out working every day. Although a lot of people are still active with their friends and family and things.
Mhm.
And they're like, they don't feel like they're hurt as much,
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow, you're the ones that have the wisdom.
right,
You've lived so much, you have so much to share, whether it's with grandchildren or nieces and nephews or whatever, with your friends. You've got a lot of wisdom to share. um Princess Fluffy Butt, can you
he's like, I have a lot of wisdom to share in my butt.
like, I got a fluffy butt to share. We just have to find different ways of expressing, and some
Yes.
people are better expressing themselves through writing.
Mhm.
If you can't speak it, can you write it?
Right.
So
Yes.
starting a blog or something,
Yeah.
emailing friends and bouncing ideas off of them. It's another great way to express yourself. I think the other thing you brought up too, though, is so many people want validation. They
Yes.
want validation and feedback that, okay, are my ideas good, or do I have
Right.
something to contribute? And
Right.
when your self-esteem gets stronger, you realize, I don't need that external validation. I get that
Right.
validation from inside.
From
It's kind
inside.
of nice, to occasionally get, a little feedback, but you don't need it to
Right.
know when you're on the right course. Does it resonate with you? Using your own discernment, is it resonating with you? That's your validation.
Right. And I think we're so trained, especially if you're still in the workforce, like, we're so trained, you need to have a good evaluation. You need to have your numbers. You need to have blah, 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 whatever the heck it is, depending on you need to have good surveys when people leave. It's all external validation. So we stop going in,
And,
when we are forced into that culture constantly.
I stop and look at it. It's like it's always just someone else's opinion. You
Yes.
know, evaluation time at work used to drive me crazy because they'd make
I
you
know.
do a self evaluation and then your boss would do one or somebody
Right,
else would do one. And it's
right,
like, well, that's your opinion. I don't
right,
necessarily agree with it because I validate myself.
right. And this whole thing is irrelevant. So, you know,
But
I
it,
mean,
you know,
the fact that our work consumes us is, instead of, I have a dear friend that lives in Colombia, and she, people work, and European countries too. This is, true. They work, but it's not their be all end all life, all consuming event. They work and then they are with their families. They're at the, I remember my friend telling me, you know, we for Easter, everybody's off the entire week. Like people are with their families, they're at the beach, they're going to church, they're sharing, like, where they're getting to, visiting and all these things. We don't, it's not about work. Like you don't, you know, oh, you got that meeting at 9, then quick run somewhere and be with your family and then come back. you know, like it's just there's a whole life and culture outside of work that's just
well,
as valid as the obsession with work in this country is really takes a lot of the internal voice away.
even with whether it's work or family friends, we're a society, and a lot of it comes from work environments where we're judged, we're written up, we're reviewed, right, all the time. And there's this, like they always said, oh well, I have to criticize something, like they always have to search for something to criticize.
Right,
It's like, no, you don't. You can
right.
actually build
What?
on someone's strengths as
Right.
opposed to their weaknesses. It's like
Yeah.
you'll get more productivity. If that is a weakness of mine, I'm probably never going to get really good at that. That's just not something,
Right.
that I'm probably going to be able to do. But I can hire, I can have other people on my team that are good at that.
Right.
If this is a strength of mine, let me run with it because it's going to get bigger. It's going to, I'm going to contribute more because I'm good at this part.
Right.
But that's
Absolutely.
that's the part that, like they like to validate our weaknesses. They like to
Yes.
pick on them, and
Yeah.
then it makes you feel less than, right? It's like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
I'm never
Because
going to
then
get anywhere, with this.
right.
I'm not good enough now.
Right. So then I don't have to pay you and I don't have to do all these things. If you're good at stuff, then what am I going to do? There's no use for me as a
Yeah,
boss or as a,
the
but it's
stories we tell
interesting.
ourselves because of that
Right.
kind of negative feedback that we get.
Yes. Barbara said when she was growing up, doing equals love. And that's so interesting. Like growing up, my friend and I were talking about this the other day. Like you are supposed to do for everybody, and tell me if I'm misinterpreting um, Barbara, but how much you could do for others equaled your worth, and constantly running and doing, and that was your validation. I remember that growing up as well, and you know I remember my mother was very, very strict growing up, and like Saturday was like being in the army. Get those bed sheets off. Here, this, that. You were like little soldiers marching around doing all the things. There was no. It wasn't a self-reflective thing. It's an obsessive doing. Is that kind of what you were talking about? Yeah, and keeping part of keeping you controlled. Yeah, that's a good point, Beth Cat. But yeah,
Sometimes, a little feedback can be good. I believe in self validation,
mhm,
but occasionally, like if you need validation, I don't need validation from someone who doesn't treat me well, or
right,
someone who um, is not um, experiencing the same things I am and don't understand, what I'm going through. So
right.
for me, like if I need a little bit of validation back or a little bit of feedback back, I'm going to go to someone I trust and respect, like Beth Cat.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to somebody who knows me and understands where I'm coming from and understands
Yes.
a lot of the life experiences I've had, um,
Right.
and what
Because a
I'm
lot of times when people give you that type of validation that's not a positive thing. A lot of times it's about them and about their
Yeah,
projection or their need or their, if someone truly
absolutely.
knows you and knows your strengths and is willing to clearly listen to you, that's a whole different thing. I love that.
You,
It's like,
you
yay.
ever if you have ever worked with a severe narcissist, it's like, and they will give you feedback whether you want it or not, right? They're constantly trying to push your buttons, and it's like, well, that'd be great if I, cared what you're saying, like, then that drives them nuts, like, in
Yeah,
other words, if I respected what you're saying, then that,
right.
that might be meaningful, constructive criticism. But when you're a narcissist, yeah, no, doesn't do a
Yeah,
thing for me. It
right.
does,
It's a
it does
whole
say
different.
more about what they're, where they're at in their soul journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, that balance of giving, um, giving, not over giving, but also, when you give, it should be reciprocal. And so, being the guy that gives to everybody and you never, particularly people that can't give back is a trap I fall into also. Yeah, it's important because it comes back to we lose ourselves. And, I think part of this independent spirit, part of honoring ourselves and listening to our own voice, has to do with the courage to kind of put those people at bay that are going to tear us up or have nothing to give to a reciprocal relationship. And, I think a lot of resiliency, being resilient, knowing when to walk away, being able to let stuff just slide off if it's not, you
Being
know,
discerning, is this my lesson or is this theirs?
yes, 100%. And yeah, and to know to okay, this doesn't belong to me. Moving on.
It's really hard for giving people to put themselves in receive mode. That's been a
Yes.
big lesson I've had to learn. When I was younger, my dad thought, women were only fit to be barefoot and pregnant, right, and stay at home,
Right?
be wives, mothers, cater to my needs. Very patriarchal. And so I was out there, proving my independence, to myself, but also trying to prove it to others. And but I'm a very giving person, and people I found would take and take and take
Right.
until I was just depleted and drained. It's like, no, I got to set boundaries with this. So
Right.
learning, one of the biggest things I had to do was open myself up to accepting help, quit trying to do everything myself, quit trying to control that
Yes.
also. Others try to control you, but I would try to control myself, and only I can fix it attitude. And it's like,
Right.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. There's a whole team of people here, or there's all these friends and everything. Like, it can be a give and take. I can accept help when I need it. You know,
Yes. Yes. 100%.
allowing that to
And I
happen. So
think the part about boundaries, boundaries and discernment, being open and balancing that with accepting help. So those are, the discernment. Yes. Okay. Can I accept help without having somebody's cleats on my throat? Is it, what kind of help are we talking here? But being willing to ask is huge. Like I struggle with that because I think, especially for women, you're always told you're incompetent, you can't handle it all, you can't do
not
this, you
good
can't
enough.
that. So you don't ask. You want to do everything, but that's not it either. This constant discerning, I think, is
I think
huge.
it's like
And
you have to discern even when someone's ready to listen to you.
mhm,
And I've had people that in the work environment, especially, where they would go on their little diatribes, and
mhm,
look at me, I'm the star, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, when you're ready to listen to someone else's opinion about how this can be done better, come see me. So I'm telling them, I'm discerning, you're not ready to listen. You're
right,
not ready to
right, and that's
entertain
beautiful.
anybody else can have ideas that might be better, that might make things improve. So I would put it out there that way,
Yes,
and wait for
and
them
that's
to come and ask me, what are you talking about? Get curious, like, what? You can make my life a little easier.
And that's what Barbara's talking about, like setting that boundary of, okay, we're not doing, when you're ready, come back and do that. But it teaches people how to treat you. So you're saying, when you're ready,
Yeah,
and
when you're
that's
ready.
teaching somebody how to treat you. I'm not just going
But
to dive in and
I'm acknowledging they're not ready to
exactly,
listen. They're not ready
exactly,
to share. They're not ready to reciprocate, and have
right? And that's a
a
boundary.
meaningful conversation, a truly meaningful conversation. Like
100%.
I'm listening to all this coming at me, right? It's all coming at me, that just makes me like sit and smile and like, okay, well, when you're ready, you know.
Right, right, and that's a boundary, that's
Yeah,
beautiful, right? I mean, and it is, I love that boundary equals, that's such a good connection of what Barbara's saying is it teaches people how to treat you. I set that boundary, now you know what to expect when you approach me. So
when you
that's
set a boundary, you have to be ready to follow through on it, though. If you're
yes.
not ready, like if you set a boundary, like I had a friend that was not treating me well, called me some derogatory names. And I
Mm,
said, unless there's an apology here, because my friends don't talk to me that way, we're done. And I
yeah,
said it very calmly. And she kept trying to call and talk to me. And I said, I told you, unless there's an apology here, because my friends don't talk to me that way. She couldn't do it. She couldn't
wow,
do it. And I had to like just cut
let
her
it
out,
go.
let her
Yep,
go, let her go learn her lesson somewhere else.
right,
Bless her on her journey. I don't have to be a part of it.
right, right,
I did it. I wasn't
100%.
screaming and yelling at her. I'm like, you know what? No,
Yeah,
that's not acceptable.
yes, and I
So
was trying to yeah,
self respect will command respect from others, I think. And if you don't get respect from others, look at, am I respecting myself?
right,
Am I loving
and then you have
myself?
to listen to
Am I
the answer.
feeling worthy? Yeah.
You
And
have to
then you've got this independent spirit that will come out and express
yes,
that.
right. And that comes through listening to the answer and honoring what you're saying, not anybody else. But and I think a lot of the ways of doing that are meditation practice, journaling, automatic writing, just
I'm a
that
huge
connecting.
journaler.
Yes, me too.
I love the journal, and Beth Cat will tell you, like I have volumes of
Yes, me too.
diaries that I've written
Me
through the
too.
years. That
And I think it's important to do the background work of getting into the meditative state, really getting into a place where you're not just brain chatter, but you're deeper in and you're ready to listen to yourself and ready to explore, your view, your voice, your soul journey. It's so yeah, volumes. Beth Cat said, "Well, come look in your closet, Jen, and see
yeah,
stacks of journals." I
it's
have
fun
them.
every now and then to take a gander back at 20 years. It's like, oh
Isn't
wow,
that's really cool. That's a cool exercise though to go
that'll
back because
that'll show you like the growth you've done. Yeah.
yes,
Wow, I used to think that way. Hang on.
right? It's so exciting. Like it's so exciting to look back. And I'm always shocked. When I moved, I don't know how many boxes of journals I had. My nephew was looking at me like, "Auntie, what's up?
I,
Why do these keep saying journals?" I'm like,
as
well,
I reached
you
for my thing and saw my Aries on it, I was thinking too, you don't always have to be a loud Aries. Well, Aries tend to be, lead the way. Like
right?
it's harder for us to follow sometimes because we're used to leading the charge, right? You don't have to be loud or forceful. There's
Right.
there's a lot of power in a soft approach.
Yes.
Um, so, like, when you see someone elevating in anger, the calmer you stay, the madder they get. A lot of times, like there's power in that.
There
And
is. But I mean,
being
if we
you're
look
independent.
at who has shown us that, who would be examples of independent spirit. So like Jesus, he wasn't a screamer, but boy, did he get in trouble for his views, but he stuck to them. Do you know what I'm saying? He preached, he healed, he went with the lepers and I mean, there's a lot of example of independent spirit in him. I would say Lao Tzu is another one who just,
Gandhi, Gandhi and
yes,
Um,
and just, created things outside of the
Dr.
dogmatic
King,
religions.
quiet resistance,
Yes,
peaceful resistance.
100%. I mean, there's so many examples of if you stay quiet, even though people, Martin Luther King gave speeches, of course, were loud, but he was a quiet man. Like he was a preacher. He was I mean, there was, you know, quiet and healing in those words. I think there was a guy, Black Elk. Do you remember Black Elk from the like 70s and earlier, probably? But he was a Lakota
Oh,
Indian.
yes.
Black Elk Speaks was the big, book that sold millions, but he, you know, um, did that in a time where it was not acceptable, not only to not share private beliefs, but to mix it with Christianity. He did, he was very vocal about, um, you know, uh, the colonization and the abuse and all the things that the colonizers did, that the Americans did when they got here to the tribes. And but yet he didn't scream. He said it. Here's Look at reality. So there's been a lot of leaders that are great examples of how do I stay independent but stay loving, stay in my spirit, stay, from my own perspective. There's a lot of amazing people over history. Rumi's another one. Rumi, he went way outside of the dogmatic rituals and this and that. He sang, he did poetry, he danced, like people are like, what? But who did we hold on to? Like all those names make sense to people and they're thousands of years old.
A lot of these people didn't always feel like they fit in too,
Right.
but they found when they spoke from their truth, when they spoke from their higher self,
Yes.
and their own independence, they found their tribe, they found
Right.
their people, they found their culture that responded to that. So
Yes. Yeah. And I think
when you don't fit in, sometimes it's a sign that, well, maybe I'm not quite with the right tribe, and I'll find that.
right.
But you have to take some active steps to sort of look for that.
Yeah. What did Dr. Seuss say? Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Right? That's a Dr. Seuss thing, I think. But I think to stay connected with our voice, meditation, journaling, I think times of silence so you can hear yourself, cutting back on all the crazy noise. I got to fix the car. I got to pay the bill. I got to, do all these things that our culture is so busy. And I think making sure we take that time to just honor that quiet voice inside us and honor our own truth, right?
It's time for a velvet dress.
Yay, dragonflies!
Billy Chapata, it's time for a short velvet dragonflies quote. Spacious revolutions, be there for you more. Be more for you often, because we're often for somebody else, right? Be more for you often. There is love that you've relinquished that you should have been pouring back into you all along. There is energy that you've exerted on people and situations that don't deserve your time. Make more room for you.
Nice. I love that. That is the independent spirit.
Yeah, make more room for you, and then others will make more room for you.
That's right. That is so true. 100%. So I have a couple little things that are, if you're looking to kind of put independent spirit energy in your day, I was kind of thinking, so first, like wind and fire are very much focused on change and on drive and on like kind of hanging on to that independence. It's so maybe candle work, being out in the rain, or in the wind, like if you're biking or sailing, or just opening the car windows and letting that wind rush you. That's a very independent spirit feeling. Wind is a
Be
really
a
good.
dog with your head out the window.
Exactly. Like that's just independence, man. Like
Yee!
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just that's such a good. So those elements, bringing those elements into your world. I also pulled a carnelian, which is confidence. I pulled a big carnelian today. This thing is gorgeous, but
It's
can give you confidence. So putting carnelian around you might give boost your strive for focusing on the more independent things. Labradorite, which is kind of just being, independent, your intuition. A Labradorite is big with intuition and kind of keeping that voice. Putting Labradorite around, and then obsidian. So protecting. I think, like you said, setting boundaries, energetically, like setting protection around you. Because if you start to be yourself, people, there's always going to be somebody that's going to try to attack, that just doesn't want you. They want you to be low, not high. There's always those people. So I think protection,
yeah.
obsidian's a really good one for that. So just, in your work, if you need to create an environment, I think, the crystals are good, the candle work, being out in the wind, and just that fierce. You always see, like in the tarot, the riders when they're going fierce into the wind. That's always wind energy, right? So they're.
It's funny too. Like people don't trust themselves, and like a lot of times I'll see people say, "Well, I'm not psychic," and I'm like, "No, you're probably more psychic than you realize," because they think psychics all up here. No, it's a
Right.
gut instinct that you get a lot of times, and I'm like, you can't tell me you've never walked a parking lot at night in the dark and felt like, okay, I need to get to my car fast, or I need to go
Yes.
back inside and wait
Trust
till
it.
somebody else walks out at the same time. You know when you're like in danger. You get that
Yes.
gut instinct. You get that, hair stands up on your neck kind of thing.
Yes.
That's being intuitive. You're if you pay attention. So it's the same thing when something resonates great with you. You get the goosebumps, right? Like, ooh, hey, or
Right.
the
The
angel
angel
tingles,
wants
I
you.
call it. I get the angel tingles up and down my back, like, oh, that resonates with me.
Yep.
When I'm getting those tingles, that resonates with me. So learning to trust yourself, learning to trust your higher self that, okay, I do have tools um, to help guide me with what resonates with me, and to know when to speak up and when maybe I should wait till tomorrow to say that.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's so true.
Yeah,
It's that's
having a
the ticket,
conversation on deaf ears does no one any good.
right? And that's your higher self. That's everybody has that. They just need to tune in more and more and more. We all have that higher self. It's with us. It's part of us.
Yeah,
So, yeah, just listening, listening, listening.
that's what the high priestess card is about. Getting going within and getting in touch
Yes.
with that higher self. Um, having that wisdom to go within. A
Right.
lot of people are like, I don't feel like I get in touch with my higher self. That's all it is. It's just tuning in to what
Yes.
resonates with you,
And giving yourself the space
and
and the time and the acceptance to do it
the more
regularly.
you get it and the more you pay attention, the stronger it will get to where you hear it all the time.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I love to talk to my people. I'm like, come on, let's have it, let's have it. But I have to find the time to sit down, get in the space, crank out all the noise, push it away. Like you have to really. It's an effort. It's
I,
a
I
very
tell you,
important effort.
I say it all the time on Penny Boots. My favorite place to meditate, my favorite place to relax is in the bathtub. I love water,
Yeah.
and I like lighting my little tea lights on a shelf up above the
Yes.
bathtub and taking a bath by candlelight. And that's where I love to meditate. That's where I get the most insights, and get the most information either from my higher self or from my guides. I'm not somebody that sits around and goes, oh, that's
Yeah.
not how I meditate. If
Right.
you do, good for you. That's
Yeah.
not me. So we complicate things sometimes. We like, oh no, it's too hard. It's too this, too that. No, it's not.
You just got to sit and do it. You
Yeah.
just. Yep. For sure. And it's
and pay
important
attention.
because to
What
stay connected is huge for any kind of growth and any kind of balance in our society, for sure, right now. Yay. Yes.
Paisley saying, discern the triggers from the inspiration. You know when you're triggered. You know
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
agitated or like, oh, or emotional. You're having an emotional response. Uh, a lot of times I always had to work on this. Like when I get really angry about something, I go into tears. Like I'm so
Mhm.
angry, I can't stop the tears, and
Right.
that's what I know. I am really triggered. Just take a 5 minutes, take a breath,
Yes.
calm down.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Oh, Rose, like, I'm here, Mama. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, girl.
Take a 5 minute cat break.
Yeah, that's 100. She's like, that's what we're here for. Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's so
bring the bring the blood pressure down.
true. Yep. Are we ready for a prayer? A
I
meditation?
I think so. I'll
Awesome.
just have to watch Roro here because she likes to
Oh,
sniff at flames.
it's good.
You'll probably see me doing this a lot. He's trying to keep her out.
Okay, I'm going to
Um,
mute myself, so I'll let you take.
for those joining us for the first time in Sacred Sounds or watching this later, we do a little meditation and sound bath at the end of all the sacred sounds in like usually the last 15 minutes. If you would like to light a candle with me, when I do manifesting and meditating candles, I don't like to blow them out, so I use tea lights. I like the little small ones that burn for like an hour and a half. That way, if I have things I got to get up and do later this afternoon, I don't have to wait for a candle to burn down, right? Um, and I have 4 archangels that I like to work with, that I call upon. Um, Raphael, the healer, Michael, the protector, Gabriel, the announcer that trumpets everything, and Ariel that helps with our creative energies and gives a lot of inspiration. If there's other angels you like to work with, by all means, call them in. You can call your guides in if you have their names. I don't call Jeremiah in, although my intention in my head is, also calling on my main guide. We have many guides, so it's like I don't like to call my guides by name when I'm trying to bring a collective in. So do what works for you, what resonates with you. Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Ariel, we surrender to your mercy, compassion, and healing. We thank you for showing us opportunities to express our longings, our desires, our wisdom, to express my longings, my desires, my wisdom. Thank you for allowing my discernment to validate what resonates with my higher self. Thank you for showing me I do fit in, even if my feelings and logic are different from others. Thank you for my voice to speak and share, and the joy in listening to others share their wisdom with me. Thank you for letting my divine spark grow into a flame to light the way for myself and others. I am making room for me.
Welcome back. I get the bowl brain.
Had to keep Roro away a little bit.
I
She was
know.
there. I was trying to turn the camera to her, but I couldn't get her in frame. She was like just meditating, like just She's usually wide eyed, so it was kind of sweet when she got narrow eyed.
Oh, Ro. That's
Cats
good.
do meditate.
I have no idea what's going on around me when I start the bowls. But I gave us a big, expansive gong, like, get that energy out there.
Get it,
Independent
get
spirit.
it moving. I tell
Oh,
you,
my.
people, when you listen to sound baths, I always tell people, like, imagine you have ears all over your body. That you're taking the sound in through ears all over your body. Just imagine you're covered in ears, and you'll
Yes.
feel it, hitting your chakras and stuff.
Yeah, feel it coming in. You'll feel where things are heavy, where they're tight, where they're like that sound just comes over you like a wave. Yeah, it's good to notice for sure. Yes, thank
You hit
you.
the throat chakra, it'll make you cough.
Yes, definitely. My friend Halima will always cough or sneeze when she's clearing the throat chakra. Yep. Awesome. Oh my gosh, that was so lovely today. Thank you everybody for being here. How awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. What a great session we had today.
Yeah, speak your truth. Find your own state of independence.
Yes. 100%. And honor it.
Make room for yourself. When you
Yeah.
make room for yourself, others will make room for you.
Yep. Yes. So thank you everybody. We will see you next month on Jen's channel if I can keep it straight.
First Sunday in August, I think it's August 3rd.
First Sunday in
Back on
August.
my channel.
Awesome.
And we'll have one in September, and then October I'll be traveling, so we won't have one in October unless you want to do one on your own, or have a guest on with you.
Right? Oh, that would be fun. Yep, we'll cross that bridge. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And we will see you.
Honor yourself.
Yes, we'll see you next month. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody says bye.